This recording is for reading check 13, pages 82 through 89. Plant the books, turn in an alarm, and see the firemen's houses burn. Is that what you mean? Faber raised his brows and looked at Montag as if he were seeing a new man. I was joking. If you thought it would be a plan worth trying, I'd have to take your word it would help. You can't guarantee things like that. After all, when we had all the books we needed, we still insisted on finding the highest cliff to jump off. But we do need a breather. We do need knowledge, and perhaps in 1,000 years we might pick smaller cliffs to jump off of. The books are to remind us what asses and fools we are. There's Caesar's Praetorian Guard whispering as the parade roars down the avenue, "Remember, Caesar, thou art mortal." Most of us can't rush around, talk to everyone, know all the cities of the world, haven't time, money, or that many friends. The things you're looking for, Montag, are in the world, but the only way the average chap will ever see 99% of them is in a book. Don't ask for guarantees, and don't look to be saved in any one thing, person, machine, or library. Do your own bit of saving, and if you drown, at least die knowing you were headed for shore. Faber got up and began to pace the room. Well, said Montag, you're absolutely serious. Absolutely. It's an insidious plan, if I do say so myself. Faber glanced nervously at his bedroom door. To see the firehouses burn across the land destroyed as hotbeds of treason, the salamander devours its tail. Oh, God! I've a list of firemen's residences everywhere with some sort of underground. Can't trust people. That's the dirty part. You and I, and who else will set the fires? Aren't there professors like yourself, former writers, historians, linguists, dead or ancient? The older the better. They'll go unnoticed. You know dozens, admit it. Oh, there are many actors alone who haven't acted Pirandello or Shaw or Shakespeare for years because their plays are too aware of the world. We could use their anger, and we could use the honest rage of those historians who haven't written a line for 40 years. True, we might form classes in thinking and reading. Yes, but that would just nibble the edges. The world culture's shot through. The skeleton needs melting and reshaping. Good God, it isn't as simple as just picking up a book you laid down half a century ago. Remember, the firemen are rarely necessary. The public itself stopped reading of its own accord. So here Faber makes a very strong point that people decided pretty much on their own that they did not value that human realness experience. And they like the lighter, fluffier, distracting stuff. They don't want to think about how awful the world is. If they can manage to stick their head in the sand, reality isn't pretty. Things that are good for you tend to not taste very good, blah, blah, blah. You get it? And so it's, it seems kind of hopeless from Faber's perspective. Like, what's the use? You firemen provide a circus now and then, at which buildings are set off and crowds gather for the pretty blaze, and it's a small sideshow indeed, and hardly necessary to keep things in line. So, in other words, it helps reinforce what's already there. It's not having to work that hard at it, though. So few want to be rebels anymore, and out of those few, most like myself scare easily. Can you dance faster than the white clown? Shout louder than Mr. Gimmick and the parlor families? If you can, you'll win your way, Montag. In any event, you're a fool. People are having fun. Committing suicide. Murdering. Oh, good point. A bomb fight A bomber fight had been moving east all the time they talked, and only now did the two men stop and listen, feeling the great jet sound tremble inside themselves. So the whole time they're talking, they're just jets. Patience, Montag. Let the war turn off the families. Our civilization is flinging itself to pieces. Stand back from the centrifuge. There has to be someone ready when it blows up. What? Men quoting Milton, saying, I remember Sophocles, reminding the survivors that man has his good side too. They will only gather up their stones to hurl at each other. Montag, go home, go to bed. Why waste your final hours racing about your cage, denying you're a squirrel? And you don't care anymore. I care so much I'm sick. And you won't help me. Good night. Good night. Montag's hands. Notice he didn't grab the Bible. His hands did. Detachment, right? He doesn't want to acknowledge he's doing this. Because let's be real, he is the narrator indirectly. He saw what his hands had done, and he looked surprised. Would you like to own this? Faber said. I'd give my right arm. Montag stood there and waited for the next thing to happen. His hands, by themselves, like two men working together, began to rip the pages from the book. The hands tore the flyleaf, and then the first and the second page. Idiot! What are you doing? Faber sprang up, as if he had been struck. He fell against Montag. Montag warded him off and let his hands continue. 6 more pages fell to the floor. He picked them up and wadded the paper under Faber's gaze. Don't, said the old man. Who can stop me? I'm a fireman. I can burn you. The old man stood looking at him. You wouldn't. I could. The book. Don't tear it any more. Faber sank into a chair, his face very white, his mouth trembling. Don't make me feel any more tired. What do you want? I need you to teach me. All right. Montag put the book down. Okay, so his hands grabbed it, but he put the book down. He doesn't want to acknowledge, or our narrator doesn't want to acknowledge, that Montag just did something very cruel in order to get what he wants. But this is one of those questions of, do ends justify means? If you do something bad because you want to have a good outcome for everybody, does it excuse the bad thing that you did to try and get the good outcome? I don't know. He began to unwad the crumpled paper and flatten it out as the old man watched tiredly. Faber shook his head as if he were waking up. Montag, have you any money? Some. $400, $500. Why? Bring it. I know a man who printed our college paper half a century ago. That was the year I came to class at the start of a new semester and found only one student to sign up for drama with Celius or to O'Neill. You see how like a beautiful statue of ice it was, melting in the sun? I remember the newspapers dying like huge moths. No one wanted them back. No one missed them. And then the government, seeing how advantageous it was to have people reading only about passionate lips and the fist in the stomach, circled the situation with your fire eaters. So, Montag, there's this unemployed printer. We might start a few books and wait on the war to break the pattern and give us the push we need. A few bombs and the families in the walls of all the houses like harlequin rats will shut up. In the silence, our stage whisper might carry. They both stood, looking at the book on the table. I've tried to remember, said Montag, but hell, it's gone when I turn my head. God, how I want something to say to the captain. He's read enough, so He has all the answers, or seems to have. His voice is like butter. I'm afraid he'll talk me back the way it was. Only a week ago, pumping a kerosene hose, I thought, God, what fun! The old man nodded. Those who don't build must burn. It's as old as history. And juvenile delinquents. So that's what I am. There's some of it in all of us. Montag moved toward the front door. Can you help me in any way tonight with the fire, Captain? I need an umbrella to keep off the rain. This is a metaphor, right? I'm so damned afraid I'll drown if he gets me again. The old man said nothing, but glanced once more nervously at his bedroom. Montag caught that glance. Well? The old man took a deep breath, held it, and let it out. He took another, eyes closed, his mouth tight, and at last exhaled. Montag. The old man turned at last and said, Come along. I would actually have let you walk right out of my house. I am a cowardly old fool. Faber opened the bedroom door and led Montag into a small chamber where stood a table upon which a number of metal tools lay among a welter of microscopic wire hairs, tiny coils, bobbins, and crystals. What's this? Asked Montag. Proof of my terrible cowardice. I've lived alone so many years, throwing images on walls with my imagination, fiddling with electronics, radio transmissions has been my hobby. My cowardice of such a passion, complementing the revolutionary spirit that lives in its shadow, I was forced to design this. He picked up a small green metal object no larger than a .22 bullet. I paid for all this. How? Playing the stock market, of course, the last refuge in the world for the dangerous intellectual out of a job. Well, I played the market and built all this, and I've waited trembling half a lifetime for someone to speak to me. I dared speak to no one. That day in the park when we sat together, I knew that someday you might drop by with fire or friendship. It was hard to guess. I've had this little item ready for months, but I almost let you go. I'm that afraid. It looks like a seashell radio. And something more. It listens. If you put it in your ear, Montag, I can sit comfortably at home, warming my frightened bones, and hear and analyze the fireman's world, find its weaknesses without danger. I'm the queen bee, safe in the hive. You will be the drone, the traveling ear. Eventually, I could put out ears into all parts of the city with various men listening and evaluating. If the drones die, I'm still safe at home, tending my fright with a maximum of comfort and a minimum of chance. See how safe I play it, how contemptible I am. Montag placed the green bullet in his ear. The old man inserted a similar object in his own ear and moved his lips. Montag! The voice was in Montag's head. I hear you. The old man laughed. You're coming over fine, too. Faber whispered, but the voice in Montag's head was clear. Go to the firehouse when it's time. I'll be with you. Let's listen to this Captain Beatty together. He could be one of us. God knows. I'll give you things to say. We'll give him a good show. Do you hate me for this electronic cowardice of mine? Here I am sending you out into the night while I stay behind the lines with my damned ears listening for you to get your head chopped off. We all do what we do, said Montag. He put the Bible in the old man's hands. Here, I'll chance turning in a substitute. Tomorrow, I'll see the unemployed printer. Yes, that much I can do. Good night, Professor. Not good night. I'll be with you for the rest of the night. A vinegar gnat tickling your ear when you need me, but good night and good luck anyway. The door opened and shut. Montag was in the dark street again, looking at the world. You could feel the war getting ready in the sky that night, the way the clouds moved aside and came back, and the way the stars looked, a million of them swimming between the clouds, like the enemy disk, and the feeling that the sky might fall upon the city and turn it to chalk dust, and the moon go up in red fire. That's how that night felt. Montag walked from the subway with the money in his pocket. He had visited the bank, which was open all night, every night, with robot tellers in attendance. And as he walked, he was listening to the seashell radio in one ear. We have mobilized 1,000,000 men. Quick victory is ours if the war comes. Music flooded over the voice quickly and it was gone. 10,000,000 men mobilized. Faber's voice whispered in his other ear. But say 1,000,000. It's happier. Faber? Yes? I'm not thinking. I'm just doing like I'm told, like always. You said get the money and I got it. I didn't really think of it myself. When do I start working things out on my own? You started already by saying what you just said. You'll have to take me on faith. I took the others on faith. Yes, and look where we're headed. You'll have to travel blind for a while. Here's my arm to hold on to. I don't want to change sides and just be told what to do. There's no reason to change if I do that. You're wise already. Montag felt his feet moving him. Keep talking. Read? I'll read so you can remember. I go to bed only 5 hours a night. Nothing to do. So if you like, I'll read you to sleep. Nights. They say you retain knowledge even when you're sleeping. If someone whispers it in your ear. Yes. Here, far away across town in the night, the faintest whisper. He turned page. The book of Job. It's a book in the Bible. It's about a man who was being punished even though he didn't do anything wrong. Is the test of faith. The moon rose in the sky as Montag walked, his lips moving just to try